I'm a shopper. I like to shop. I like to shop for clothes. I like to shop for food, obviously. I like to shop for knickknacks. I consider myself somewhat of an expert in the subject. I've analyzed it quite a bit, and I used to write about shopping for a major media organization. I also like to think of myself as a morally responsible shopper. I worry that something I buy might be made by a child. If I buy a jacket and it has a label, made in France, was it really made in France? Or was it made somewhere else by a child, and then the buttons were sewn on in France? If I buy a piece of fruit, I want to know what farm it came from, who picked it, and why is it wrapped in plastic? You notice that in the grocery store? Everything natural is wrapped in plastic. I worry about the growing island of plastic rubbish floating around in the Pacific Ocean. I also worry about, closer to home, the ever-present fly tip at the end of my street. As soon as it's cleared away, it comes back. So this all leaves me in somewhat of a quandary because I live in Wood Green. For those of you who are not familiar with Wood Green High Road, it is one of the busiest in London. According to the Metropolitan Police, it's the second only to Oxford Street in terms of foot traffic. However, I'm hard-pressed to buy anything there beyond a few groceries. You go to the high road and there's a betting shop, a payday loan moneylender, a charity shop, a betting shop, a pound shop, a betting shop, charity shop, a few chains that are specialize in disposable fast fashion, a few other chains who use Wood Green High Road as their discount outlet, selling their lower-end items. There's not very many independent shops there. The few that are on the high road don't last long. There's a churn of ownership, one owner anonymously blending with the other. They're usually, again, selling the fast fashion, some mobile phone accessories. There's a few good independents. There are a few good independents. There's a small independent bookshop, Big Green Bookshop, just off the high road, which is quite a literary hub for Wood Green. Also, on my way to the high road, I always pass a nice, fairly new Polish deli. Every time I go in there, it's better. She's growing, so it's nice. Otherwise, it's chain, chain, chain. And the shopkeepers on the high road call it a value market, which is retail parlance for cheap. Now, cheap comes at a high cost. It's the result of those above looking down and making a marketing decision based on what they perceive to be the people who, well, they perceive to be who is already there, also who they, judgment they're making on the people who come to the high road to shop, and also those of us who live in the area. Now, according to a study conducted by the New Economics Foundation, when you go into a small independent shop, 78% of the money that you spend in that shop stays within the economy of the community that it's in. Contrast that to the large corporate shopping. You go into a chain, only 38% of that money stays within the community you've spent it. And that's mostly in wages. So if that corporation is not hiring locals, that value will go down. So it makes sense to me that a community that is considered so poor that it can only support a value high road, it would make sense to have more opportunities for small businesses, for people to start their own businesses. So I decided, try to think what I could do as a resident, maybe how I could join with my fellow neighbors to try and do something. So I joined a group optimistically called the Wood Green Action Group. And this was a group of residents and some council officers and a few other people who had a stake in the high road. For example, the manager of the mall came. Occasionally, police would come to our meetings. Occasionally, the Transport for London. And we would talk about what can be done with the high road. Soon it became apparent that there was a redevelopment project on the horizon, funded by Transport for London. After several months of listening to people talking about the infrastructure of the high road, paving stones, lights, a giant tree they're planning, a metal tree near Turnpike Lane Station, all these things, it became apparent that it was more of that top-down approach. I thought that perhaps a more grassroots approach was needed. Now, all this time I had been doing some more research, and I read another study conducted by the National Farmers Markets Association, which said people who shop in local markets are 60% more likely to feel that they're part of the community that they live in, to feel a connection with their neighbors. Now, in addition to being considered the perfect environment for a value market high road, my community is very diverse. Culturally, socially, economically, ethnically. The primary school that's on my high road has 42 languages that students speak as the first language in their home. So we're very rich in the culture of other nationalities all living together in a small area. With that comes the modern challenge of disengagement. So I thought, well, come on, maybe a market would be a good idea. Like bring us together, bring some life into the community. Not that we didn't have life, but make it more grassroots, more serving the community who lives there. So I called a few organizations who run farmers markets in London. The minute they heard I was calling from Wood Green, guess what? They wanted nothing to do with me. You're not the market for us. It's more of that top-down approach. So I decided to start one on my own. So I got an award from a social entrepreneurial award from an organization called Unlimited, and I started a market. We had some good buzz in the community, and it initially got quite a few vendors. A lot of vendors who were shut out of other markets, who wanted to make a footfall into London, came. So all the farmers, bakers, cake makers, street food, and also a whole load of, well, quite a few, local people started coming forward and saying, I know how to bake cakes, can I have a booth? I have this idea for street food, can I do it? Oh, no, I'm Italian, I know how to cook, we want to do an Italian deli on your market. So they came forward, it was great. There was quite a nice core of residents who came forward who wanted to be more connected to their neighbors, wanted to have a coffee, come and have a coffee, meet their neighbors, feel like part of the community. Also, people started coming forward to volunteer. We had people volunteering on the meat stall, on the bread stall, just so that those vendors could drop their stuff and go to more lucrative markets. We'd still have that. So we had a nice representation of all the things that a market needs. However, while my local people were beginning to grow and thrive, now, fledgling businesses do need support, so I spent some time with them, giving them advice. So you have a lovely product, but why don't you display it this way? Look at the pricing, look at how you're marketing it. How can you get a customer to keep coming back to you? So while they're doing that, I was losing people on the other side, the professional vendors. They'd get their foothold in London, go off. We had a few that stayed, that understood the value of a nice, small neighborhood market. Many kept leaving. One of the biggest challenges for me was fresh vegetables. the vegetable farmers, and I suppose it's because each of their items is quite a low price, so they want hundreds, if not thousands of footfall, which we didn't have. So I kept losing them. So I started knocking on the doors of my neighbors who I knew were gardeners, and I asked them, do you grow vegetables? Would you like to join the market? I'll give you a free store. And some came forward. And we started the Backyard Farmers Collective. So super local produce, grown right in the neighborhood, fresh, organic, and they not only had their stall, they would give gardening advice, they'd sell plants, so very cheap. So people could come and buy, I should say good value, come and buy the vegetables, talk about gardening. So that was great. Meanwhile, my other local were doing great guns. I mean, one of my local street food people, he did a pop-up on the high road. Now he has a restaurant in Shoreditch. Several others expanded to other markets. One girl who didn't have a job at the time she started the market. She knew how to bake cakes, so she started baking cakes. She started a baking club, teaching people how to bake cakes. So we had lots of things going on. Also some social enterprises that just came out of people meeting each other in the market. So our volunteer who volunteered at the meat stall started doing coach trips for seniors to the seaside and historic places. We had yoga. Yoga now is every week, twice a week actually, in our community. Multiple social enterprises. The Backyard Farmers started a intergenerational gardening club in the local park, helped clean up the park, and started planting it up and teaching people how to garden in the park. So that was great. Then the axe fell. That redevelopment project on the high road started. Or the construction blocked the access to my market. So the footfall dropped by half overnight. So I decided, well, this was a lot of work all along, but I am not Sisyphus. Cut it there. Just stop doing the market, and at least until the high road was finished. However, I was not willing to stop what was going on over here with all my local people, all the growth they were having. So I started the local London food tank, which is it's a local food think tank, focusing on helping Londoners create and obtain sustainable food. And one of the focuses of that is providing education and training for people that are interested in getting into some sort of food business. But also, we're starting to build a library of intellectual information about the value of sustainable local food, so other people can read it and think, oh, well, I can do that too. So, what is my point here today? If you truly want to address the issues of unemployment and the resulting debt, whether it's payday moneylenders, child poverty, you want people to help train people and replace that despair that leads people to the payday loan lender, replace that with hope. It's a good start to look at trying to create an environment for small local enterprise. And there are many ways that can be done depending on what level you're looking at. So from the government level, local governments could create more of a welcoming environment for small local enterprises. Perhaps a look at business rates, make them not so prohibitive. Landowners could have more flexible leasing options and perhaps be encouraged by the local government with incentives to provide more affordable retail and office space. Education could start to address the idea that all those skills they're teaching might also be applicable to entrepreneurship right from the beginning. I heard two teenagers talking on the bus recently. One of them said to the other, where are you going to college next year? His friend said, I don't need any more school. I'm not going anymore. I'm going to have my own business and be rich. Well, wrong answer, right? We all know he needs education. But he needs the kind of education that will encourage a student with that type of mindset. And what can you do? What can we all do as individuals? That's the easiest of all, right? Shop local. Buy things from your local small businesses. Use services from your local small businesses. Because if 78% of the money that you're spending in that small local business is staying in your own community, you can't afford to do otherwise. Thank you.